Yeah, I think this is just common, right, for everyone. My voice goes up in some situations, it goes down in others. I prefer my voice when it's like this or higher, personally. But the hard part is just getting it done. The hard part is just making your... The hard part with voice training, in my opinion, is turning your effort voice into your default voice. That's the complicated part. And that is something that you can't really do by just, like... There's different practices, right? There's different ways to practice. There's like a... I think everyone understands this intuitively. There's like a... Yeah, I think effort versus active versus passive. That's the wording I used before. Your active voice can be like perfect, but if it's not your passive voice, then it's not really good, right? It's not good enough for it to be your active voice. So the goal is to turn your so in terms of voice training, I guess I'm gonna do paint stream, okay? I love paint stream, okay? In terms of voice training, okay, we have like our, I don't know, let's just say we have our voice, okay? We have voice here. And then, did this not work, really? Huh. I wonder why it wasn't showing up. Anyway, whatever. Okay, we fixed it. Let's say we have our voice, right? And we have, it splits off in two categories, okay? So we have our, my God. We have our active voice. Everyone, I don't need to do a paint stream for this, okay? But I'm going to do it anyway. Because I can. We have our active voice, and then down here, I love paint, I'm sorry. Okay, down here, we have our passive voice, okay? And, yeah. Basically, if you think of your voice on like a, on a spectrogram type scale, right? Like of like height, and it's like a graph, and your active voice. I love paint, I'm sorry, I'm having too much fun here. Let's say like this is your voice, right? And your active voice, if this is like over here, is like hertz, like how high it is. Whatever, right? Like let's say your active voice is like this, right? Like this. But your passive voice is like this. Like this, right? And the goal is to raise this voice and have them become one and the same, essentially, or as close as you can get them. So the goal is to have this be your like active voice, but your passive voice is like just like here. It's never going to be like as good, but you want your passive voice to be closer. Because the issue that I've had in my life with voice training is I remember sitting there and I was doing active practice of my voice. So I was sitting there and I was doing, I was actively voice training. I was listening to my voice and speaking back, and I was doing all that, and I was, hello, 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 pat, 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 pat. And I was doing all the voice exercises, and I was trying to get my part, and I was trying to get my voice higher and higher, and I was trying to speak like this, and I was working on it like that. But the problem was, even when I came out with a good voice at the end of all of that, I could hold it for like a little bit, but as soon as I stopped thinking about it, as soon as my brain stopped working, I would leave active voice zone and I would drop into passive voice. So I'd be like, oh my God, hello, it's so nice to see you. Hello, hello, hello. And then 5 minutes later, I'm just like, I start talking and then I'm like, yeah, anyway, so now I'm back to active voice, or now I'm back to passive voice. And then my voice just drops. And it's just because I don't speak like this unless I'm actively trying to speak like this. I don't know how that sounds. Obviously, I don't practice that voice very often, so I don't know if that sounds good or bad. My default assumption is it's not perfect. It's definitely a bit odd or uncanny, which is what you would expect. If you speak, I've said this before, but when you speak with effort, human beings, like most human beings, don't speak with effort. They don't speak with conscious thought about how to say their words. And if you do speak with conscious thought, sorry, I just have a sore throat. But if you have to start speaking with conscious thought about how to position your muscles and how to create the vowel sounds, it's going to sound really weird. It's just going to sound unnatural. No matter how good you are at it, no matter how good you are able to get into the fem ranges with your voice, you'll sound correct in many areas, but you'll still ultimately not be speaking like you're just talking, you know? And this is obviously, anyone that is bilingual will understand this, I think, pretty intuitively. If you're bilingual, it's one thing to speak in your native language, but once you start speaking in your secondary language, especially if you're not like absolutely fluent in it, you have to start using your brain while talking, which leads to your voice. It just leads to you not being able to speak like the same way that you would normally talk. You just can't. You just sound a little unnatural. I only speak English. I don't speak other languages. But I know, like, I have friends who speak French as their first language, and English is their second language. And obviously, like, I mean, it's pretty intuitive, I think, for anyone that is like bilingual. But yeah, you're just gonna like feel a little off with your speech if you have to think about how you're talking. So ultimately the goal is to turn your passive voice into active voice. But the only way to do that, from my experience, is, so how do you practice active voice? Well, you practice active voice by, in a word I would use like in theory, I guess. In application, maybe that's the better word. Active voice comes from theory and application and like motions and movement, if this makes any sense, right? You think about what you're going to do. When I think about my active voice, I think, okay, let's raise our resonance. So let's raise resonance. Part. Let's soften voice. Part. Let's speak like this. Part. Let's get the pitch up. Let's speak higher. Part. Let's think about how to enunciate our vowels. So let's try to enunciate fully our words when we talk. And let's try to keep, and so it's like I said, I like active voice is a great word, okay? It's all active. That's how you practice active voice. But how do you practice passive voice? Well, the only way to practice passive voice is repetition. That's the only way. So you just have to, in order to raise your passive voice, you need to speak as close as you can to active voice as often as you can. You don't have to speak exactly in your active voice, but you do have to speak as close as possible to your active voice for as long as possible. And the longer you do that, the more your body, it's like posture, right? You don't have to have perfect posture 24/7, I love the posture analogy. A posture analogy is so good, okay? If I sit like this, because I'm a gamer, okay? And I have gamer posture. And this is how I sit on my computer. And I just lean like this 24/7, okay? My body remembers this position. It remembers this, and it becomes the normal. It becomes the default position. And doing this, sitting up straight, I don't have muscle memory for this. I don't like it. It doesn't feel good. I don't feel comfortable sitting like this. I don't like it. I don't like it, okay? I don't like sitting like this. But if I were to sit only like this for months and months, if I just sat like this all the time, eventually this would be my normal muscle memory. This would be my default state. And leaning over like this would feel really uncomfortable. And I'd be like, oh, fuck, I can't lean. I should just sit like this. Oh, this feels uncomfortable. Let me just sit back up. Oh, fuck. Like, it would feel uncomfortable. So something that I've heard frequently from girls that have been doing voice training for a long time, especially girls that have got very, very good at their voice training. For example, if you know Ziana from Trans Voice Lessons, she has had her voice in her, like, she has been working on her vocal posture for so long that it's not possible for her to just do a man voice anymore. It's not possible because she doesn't have she has no muscle memory of how to create those sounds, and she doesn't practice how to create those sounds. So she has to, like, actively, if she wanted to sound like a man, she would literally have to learn to sound like a man. So if you just think of your voice like your posture, you know, just think of your voice like your posture, and the only way to fix your posture is by doing exercises. The only way to fix your posture is by doing exercises that tell you how to do correct posture, because let's be real, right? So there's, like, sitting upright, okay? But this posture here, this isn't correct posture. I'm not sitting upright right now. I'm overcorrecting. Like, good posture is like, if I want to be able to get into a good posture position, I have to practice. How the fuck do I know what good posture is? And there's a couple exercises I can do. I can go stand flat against a wall with my back up against a wall, and I can do, you know, I can do exercises with my back flat against a wall, and stuff, and that will help correct my posture. That'll help teach me the posture. And then what I have to do once I learn the posture is I have to once I have the correct posture, I have to hold it as long as I can. And once I hold it as long as I can, we're chilling, right? Then we're good. So with vocal posture, you just have to do your exercises, get your posture in the correct place, and then hold your posture for as long as you can. And then you hold it for as long as you can, and then every day you get a little better at holding it, and then eventually it gets awkward not holding your posture. So, you know, that's just how you do it. Your girl voice sounds like shit 90% of the time, but, you know, yelling at video games. Yeah. I mean, honestly, yelling is one of the hardest things to do. Like, getting loud and sounding feminine is pretty difficult. It's quite a challenge, I think. So something I would like to do is a bit more active practice. I've said this 100 million times. What I do is I do a lot of passive practice. That's what streaming is good for. I stream so much and I talk a lot. Well, I don't stream so much, but I stream a good amount, okay? Let's not downplay myself. I stream a decent amount and I talk the whole time on stream. So by talking on stream a lot, I practice a good amount, but I practice my passive voice. That's all I practice, and I make this voice more optimized, but I don't raise this voice. This voice never gets raised. It just becomes more optimized as my passive voice, which means I'm never going to go, if we think of like let's just do a line. Let's do a line in purple here, okay? And we'll say it's like here, okay? And we'll do like a line here, okay? And we'll do this, okay? And we'll do one more section. And we'll call this dad voice, okay? Oops. We'll call this dad voice, okay? So the more I spend time practicing this passive voice, the more it becomes impossible for me to use this voice. In fact, at this point, I don't think it's possible for me to sound ever how I sounded pre-transition. I don't think I could recreate my old voice. I don't think I could recreate it. I don't think I could recreate my voice at all. However, the next step is to take this active voice from where it is here and get our new active voice up here. And then we take our active voice from there, from this one, and we want to get our active voice here. And then, we want to get our passive voice here, and then we want to get our passive voice here, and then we want to get our passive voice here. And the end goal is that active voice equals passive voice. Anyway, rainbow. Okay, cool, neat. Yeah, you need to start hopping on a VC or something during the day. Yeah, all you need to do is, I say all you need to do, it's not easy. However, what you need to do you need two things, right? You need to do active practice. Step one, active practice. You can't just do passive practice. You have to do active practice. But then what you need to do is, because like I said, if you, for example, like I was doing, when I was very early transition, when I was like super early transition, right? I would do my voice practice at home in my room alone, and then I would go speak to my brother, and I would just talk in my regular voice. I wouldn't do the active voice whatsoever. And then I'd go in my room when my family wasn't home and I was alone by myself, and I would sit and I would voice train, and I would do the exercises, you know? Part, peat, pat, pit, pat, part, peat, pat, pit, pat, part. And I'd do the exercises, and then my parents would come home, and I'd go sit with them, and I'd talk in my normal voice. I wouldn't use active voice whatsoever. So what you need to find you need to do your active practice, but then you also need a space where you're allowed to talk comfortably, but in a higher pitch than you would, like not a higher pitch necessarily, but you know what I mean? You need a space where you can be comfortable speaking closer to your active voice rather than your passive, like non-practiced voice. So you didn't make any progress on your passive voice until you were out of the closet trying to use your target voice all the time? Yeah, exactly. And that was the same for me. I made no voice progress on my actual speaking voice, like until I started streaming, honestly. I'd done good work, in my opinion, on my active voice. I think I did pretty good practicing my active voice. I think I did quite good, in my opinion. Like, I wasn't like perfect whatsoever, but I was pretty good. I'd practiced it a good amount, but I stopped practicing actively simply because it was doing nothing for me in my life. And I actually started streaming. I don't know if anyone, this is old Aoife lore. This is very, very old Aoife lore, but for anyone that, I don't think anyone in my chat here, maybe Ascaron is the closest to being here at this point in time, but I actually used to, in the really, really like early stages when I was posting online, I would post little videos of me on my Twitter talking into the camera and stuff. And on my like my OnlyFans, I would post vlogs all the time, actually, and I would just talk into the camera a lot. And one of the reasons I did that was because I actually never, ever talked to anyone in my real life. I had no friends. I lived alone. I had no friends. I lived alone. and I didn't speak to people at all. So I would literally record little videos of me talking, and they would be the only, sometimes it would be the only time I used my, I remember, it was a sad time in my life, but I remember there were times when I would record a Twitter video of like 20 seconds long, and it was the first time that I had used my speaking voice in a week or something. It was like literally the first time I had actually spoken in like a full week, was to like record a little video for Twitter. So one of the major reasons that I started streaming in the very beginning, one of the big goals for me was, by streaming, it would allow me to speak and use my voice and practice my voice. So streaming for me has been very, very important in my voice. But how do you stop sounding like a guy talking in a fake high-pitched girly voice? A lot of that, I think there's a couple schools of thought on it. Probably. My advice, and I'm not a voice trainer, so I wouldn't take my advice as gospel, but my strategy was, don't try to sound like a girl, just try to sound a little softer and a little more feminine. So at first, I would speak like in my regular ass voice, and all I would do is I would try to soften my voice. I try to speak a little softer and a little higher and a little bit better on the resonance. And I wouldn't go for, I think the idea is, if we go back here, right? If you look at these like charts, we can say that this here is like ultra femme, okay? And we'll say this here is, we'll say this is like mask, okay? And if you try to go, especially when you're early into your practice, right? Especially when you're super early, it's the same, we can use any analogy, like makeup as well, or like we can use like a sports analogy or like a weightlifting analogy. But if you want to go from here to here, like in one go, you're going to sound like a fucking idiot when you do it. And it's not a bad thing. It's just reality. You're gonna sound like a dumbass for a while. Until you get good at it, you're gonna sound like an idiot. That is practice. That is what it means to be practice. That is what it means to be practice. That's what it means to practice something. That is exactly what it means to practice something. This is something I tell people with makeup. A lot of trans femmes, when they want to get good at makeup, they want to start out at the top. They want to if you've never done makeup in your life before, I've never ever done makeup, and the makeup that you want to do is like, let's look at e-girl makeup, okay? Here. You've never ever in your life done makeup, okay? Not a single time have you done makeup before in your life. Ever. Not once, okay? And then you're like, I'm gonna do this girl's eyeliner and shadow and makeup. And you wanna get her look. And you've never done makeup before, you can try it. And in fact, I think that some people work best when they throw themselves in the deep end. I think a lot of people actually do work best by throwing themselves into the deep end and learning afterwards. But what you have to understand is, if you're gonna throw yourself in the deep end, you're gonna look like shit. Like, you're gonna fuck it up. You're not gonna do it. You're not gonna be able to just easily do it at all. If you try to shoot for ultra femme in your voice, you're gonna sound like a fucking idiot for a while. You'll get good eventually, but you're gonna sound like a fucking idiot for a long time. If you try to do makeup and you've never done makeup before, and you wanna look like this girl, you're gonna look like shit. And the problem that people have is not that they can't practice. They can practice. It's that, especially when you're trans, the results of your practice really hurt. They hit you heavily. So I don't know if anyone has memories of playing a video game for the first time and sucking at that video game, but then putting it on like playing a video game and setting the difficulty. Like, let's say you're playing, I like Halo, okay? Halo is a video game I played. I like Halo 3, okay? Let's say you play Halo 3 and you've never played a Halo game before. I hadn't. And you set the difficulty not to normal, not to heroic, but you set the difficulty to fucking legendary on your first playthrough of the game, okay? You will learn how to play that game on legendary difficulty. Eventually, you'll learn to beat that game. You will learn to win. You will learn how to do it. But you're gonna die a shitload, and you might get frustrated, but what you won't do, especially if you're playing a video game like Halo 3, is you won't take it personally that you're dying. You won't take it personally that you're dying. You won't think that you're a fuck up of a person for dying, and you won't feel dysphoric when you're dying in Halo 3. You're not going to feel dysphoric. You're not going to feel like shit. You're not going to think you're like an ugly person. You're not going to hate yourself for dying in Halo 3 on Legendary. You're going to think it's a shit game, yeah. But when we do this as trans women, when we fuck our makeup up, we don't think, oh man, I tried for a look that was way out of my skill level. I gotta practice that a lot more to get good at it, and then I can beat it. Then I can do it. If I just practice it a little more, then I'll do it. I'm gonna win. I'm gonna win eventually. What we instead think is, oh, I fucked this up. It doesn't work on me because I'm a fucking ugly ass, gross piece of fucking shit. I look like shit. I suck at fucking makeup. I'm never gonna pass. I'm never gonna fucking look like a woman. I'm a failure. And it's like, that is the problem, right? It's the same with clothes. Like learning how to, it's weird to say. I actually talked with Sarah a little bit about this. But learning how to dress yourself is a skill. It's not a fucking thing that you just do. People just don't go to the store and buy clothes and look good. The people that can do that have to go to the store, try on clothes, they learn what looks good on their body, they learn what fits their body type, they learn what sizes they want to wear, they learn what stores carry clothes that fit their body type well. They learn all this stuff. They learn what colors look well, what colors don't look well, what outfits to buy, what clothes will match clothes that are already in their wardrobe that they can. They learn all these things. They don't just show up and go buy clothes and put them on and be like, yes, this is great. I just RNG picked out a piece of clothing and it looked good on me. But what happens with trans girls, especially when you're early transition, is you go to the store, you grab some clothes, you have no fucking clue what fits you, you have no idea. Yeah, you can't tell if it fits you, you don't know what looks good on you, you don't know what you like, you don't know what style you want, you don't know what you want to do whatsoever, and you put the clothes on, and then your default reaction is, it looks bad because it's my fault. Like, it looks bad because it's me. That's why it looks bad. It's my body's fault that this looks bad on me. And you take it personally. So, to go all the way back with voice training, if you're willing to not take your bad voice personally, you're going to make so much more progress. That's the key for any transition-related skill in general, honestly. Any skill in general, but transition-related skills more so, because when we suck at a transition-related skill, we think it's our fault, basically. We think it's because of our bodies that we suck at it, not because we just suck at it, you know? Not because we're still learning. We don't think that we're still learning. We think that we're like failures or whatever, you know? You still need to take my advice? Gonna have to dedicate a weekend to it or something? Honestly, you don't even need to take my advice exactly how I said it, Sarah. Just even knowing in your brain, the next time that you go shopping, even if you don't do it the way that I suggested, of like going and just deliberately buying like 10 different pieces, if you just keep in your mind the very next time you go shopping that if this doesn't look good on me, it's not my fault. It just means I learned something new. I learned that this doesn't look good on me. That's all I learned. If you could keep that mindset, then it doesn't make you cry, which is my problem. I go shopping, I wear something, I think it looks terrible on me, and then I start crying, and my whole day is ruined. My whole day is ruined because of it. But if I could just not cry because of that, I would say, oh, okay, this doesn't work on me. Let me try something new. Or maybe I say, oh, okay, this didn't work on me. All right, I don't want to check this store out anymore. So it's just when you got upset about that, your mom nailed it. Is the second puberty right? Would you expect the teen girl to nail it on the first go? Yeah, and the thing is, teen girls don't nail it on the first try. And I think people like to I mean, I don't know. Okay, where's the example? Here's a good one, okay. I like this one, okay, this picture. This is a funny picture, okay. I remember seeing a tweet about this. This girl was like, I took a picture with Kylie Jenner and we were 1 grade apart in this photo, right? And to talk about like cis girls a little bit, or I mean, not even cis girls, I mean anyone that is femme presenting in their teen years, right? Because the difference, the big difference for anyone really that transitions for the most part is we didn't get to practice this at the same age, right? That's like the big difference. Like right here, Kylie Jenner here has more practice like in her presentation skills than, I don't know how old she is here. I think like grade 9 or grade 10 these kids are. Like they're like 14, 15 years old or something, I think, or 16, she might be 16, something like that. Anyway, this girl has more practice at 16 than I do, like by far. But I have more practice than this girl. I got so much more practice than this girl. I'm so much, you know? And what was I going to say? There's a lot of girls. So, oh, here's a good example, okay? Makeup tutorial, okay? If you ever look up on YouTube, makeup tutorials, okay? If I go here, if I go to my monitor, okay? Makeup tutorials. I don't know if you've seen this, okay? But makeup YouTube gets millions, and not just makeup YouTube, makeup Instagram, makeup influencers, millions of views, okay? Millions and millions of views, okay? Beginner makeup tutorial. 1.8 million views, 3.3 million views, okay? These tutorials, I'm gonna tell you right now, are not made for trans women as the primary audience, okay? Makeup tutorials are not made with trans women as the primary audience. And they're also not made with teenage girls as the primary audience either. They're made for like young adults. That's the primary audience for makeup YouTube. My roommate is older than me. I think she's 28, and she watches makeup YouTube. 28-year-old cis woman watches makeup tutorial YouTube, basically. These videos are not made for like teen. So when you think to yourself, I'm not as good at makeup as like all the cis girls or whatever, that is not true. The primary people watching makeup tutorials are girls literally our age, like for the most part, you know. Not all cis women, just like some cis women. Don't get me wrong, especially like obviously more cis women than like cis men or anything, right? Are going to leave high school having developed a lot of skills, like a lot of presentation skills, Like we can all agree, I think, proportionately, cis women are going to learn skills like how to do their hair, how to dress well, how to do makeup, all that stuff. Like they're going to learn those skills more because they're pressured into learning those skills from like super young, right? They're super pressured into learning those skills. But there's plenty of kids out there that are just this girl. I don't know if you listen. I had friends. I had not to be. I don't know if this sounds like a dickhead thing. I had friends in high school. Okay. I had friends in high school, and I had a lot of friends who looked like they had no idea how to dress themselves, how to style their hair. Like plenty of girls that like they didn't start looking beautiful until they were like in their 20s, in their mid-20s. Like it's really not at all uncommon for like cis women to be awkward and not know how to style their hair and not know how to do makeup and not know how to dress that well and wear frumpy clothes and look kind of awkward and wear hoodies because they're insecure about their bodies and not put on makeup and just have long hair and cover their face with their hair and wear baggy hoodies. And I laugh when I said I have friends in high school. What I meant to say was I felt like an asshole saying I actually had friends in high school as if it was like a flex. That's why I was laughing, you know? But yeah, like it's really not that, like the people that we're comparing ourselves to are like, when I compare myself to like cis women, I'm not comparing myself to like the category of cis women here. I'm comparing myself to this category of cis women. You know, if I go back to paint again. How do I do this? Canvas? Yeah, if I go back to paint, I just make this bigger, okay? And I just go down here, basically. You know? When I'm comparing myself, like if we have like our, let me use black here. If we have like our, you know, our distribution of like cis women, okay? Cis women, okay? And I'm thinking of who am I comparing myself to? Which of these women am I comparing myself to? These women? No. Am I comparing myself to these women? No. Am I comparing myself to these women? No. Am I comparing myself to all of these women? No. Who am I comparing myself to? I'm comparing myself to these women. That's who I'm comparing myself to. You go to your local mall and it's filled with teens, cis girls are like super hot, and they're attractive, they're dressed very hot. Yeah. But what you don't see is how many girls are not like going out because they don't feel like they look good. You know? How many girls are not like doing that? How many girls, instead of being like at the mall dressed well, are like smoking weed with their friends in their backyard, right? Dressed like shit or whatever, you know, with like greasy ass hair, or sitting at home playing video games. How many girls are sitting at home playing video games in their fucking underwear rather than going out dressing well? Or how many girls are literally like on the football team and their entire look is hair in a bun or hair in a ponytail, and they wear like their sports jersey, and that's their outfit, you know?